Chereptris Perspective 2685 Terran Calendar 28 years BF. I walk atop the crust on a 50-centimeter deep layer of snow. How the enemy have managed to stay hidden in this forest when their bodies are so massively dense that the snow forces them to wade through it rather than walk over it, I will never understand. Winter on Vistrith is noticeably colder than on my home planet, 2 or 3 degrees Celsius. Not enough to be life-threatening, but enough for me to feel the chill through my fur. 3 of my hands grip the improvised flag, while my 4th reaches, instinctively, for the sidearm I relieve myself of before setting off. As a career soldier, even before the war, I feel somewhat naked with no weapon, but I just have to keep reminding myself that I'm safer without one right now. I enter into a slope clearing that was, just yesterday, the site of a crushing battle. Bloody patches in every colour festoon the area, along with the twisted, frozen bodies of hundreds of my brothers and sisters in arms. I pause a moment, at the edge of the open space, before thrusting the pole over my head and waving it, such that the white sheet billows back and forth. I think about what else I can do to both make my intentions clear and attract their noise. "Sons of daughters of terror," I shout in Quiquidney, "I have come to parley. I beg of you to hear my words." I repeat in Galactic Basic. Silence. Not that I expected anything else. Of course, if they're here, if they're watching, they likely don't understand what I'm saying at all. Neural interface translators are not technology that they had developed pre-contact. I can only hope that my tone and the banner I'm carrying indicate my intentions. I wait, and receive no answer. I lift up a foot and place it forward, only for a plume of snow to be finally thrown up, 30 centimeters in front of me, followed by the crack of explosive propulsion, catching up a half-second later, limited, as it is, by the speed of sound. 14 years of soldierly discipline is all that keeps me from shrieking in terror. I managed to collect my spilled thoughts enough to determine that the shot was not intended to hit me. 6 years of grisly experience informed me that Terran snipers always hit exactly where they mean to. I think that was a warning. I continue to stand, stock still for a few moments longer. No more shots ring out, and I'm still breathing. I wait for what seems like an eternity. Eventually I decide that they clearly aren't willing to talk, and so turn to go. I haven't got more than 2 paces before I hear the a projectile striking the snow behind me, followed by the crack, crack, crack of their propellant blast catching up to them. Another warning? Don't leave, things are in motion, have patience? Is that what they're trying to convey? I return my gaze to the incline and continue waiting. Finally, a chunk of snow breaks itself from a drift and stands. With powerful footsteps that cleave through the snow, as if it were but mist, the Terran approaches me. This Terran does not have the physique of a sniper, in my view. Rather, they look like a line breaker. Even compared to other Terrans I've seen, there's an obvious power to the stocky body in matte white armor advancing down the hill. The 1.8 meter soldier draws up to about twice their own height's distance away from me. Clipping their rifle to their back, they point at me and do a twirling motion with their finger, before placing their arms behind themselves. In answer, I take a box translator from a pouch on my sash and extend it to them, slowly and carefully letting them see it. They glance at the translator, then at me, then shake their head from side to side in a gesture I don't comprehend, before once more jabbing the same finger in my direction, pointing it downward and twirling it, before briefly placing their hands behind their back. "I don't understand," I say hesitantly. "If you just take the translator, we can communicate freely. Why do you insist on this miming?" I haven't a hope of being understood by them, of course, or so I thought. After a few seconds of staring unnervingly down at me through their blank, expressionless helmet, they reach up and detach it, to reveal almost as expressionless a face. The heavy features, as well as a layer of fur in the lower portion, indicate that this is likely a male. Most humans I've ever seen, both in reality and recordings, have been wearing those face-obscuring helmets, but of those human faces I have seen, his is extremely unusual. A broad, proud nose is topped with an extremely prominent brow, with bushy bronze fur that matches that of his head. Unlike the far more common brown, blue, grey or black irids that most humans have, his are a vivid turquoise. He has a chin that slopes back from his mouth, rather than jutting forward, as would be normal for humans. He must be one of these walking extinct subspecies of humanity that I've heard about. I know humans are extremely heterogeneous, but this can only be a cousin. None of his stark deviations from typical human facial structure are the most striking thing about his face. However, that would be the horrific burn scar on the left edge of his mouth. He opens his jaws to reveal a mangled speech organ that even I, with zero education in deaf anatomy, can appreciate renders him entirely mute. Ah, I understand. You wouldn't be able to talk to me even if you did put this on, would you? I sigh. Miming it will have to be then. He replaces his helmet and, slowly, points to me. Me? I query, gesturing to myself. The deaf warder bobs his head up and down. Could that be a yes? He places his arms behind himself, first this time, changing the previous order. Unsure what else to do, I mimic him, placing my forearms behind myself. More enthusiastic head bobbing coupled with an extended fist with an upward thumb. I'm choosing to interpret that positively. Finally, he points his finger down and spins it, to indicate something. I take one of my hands from behind myself to mimic the motion, eliciting a frustrated sigh, audible through his helmet. Seeming to resign the attempt to make me understand his gestures, the man closes the distance between us and, with irresistibly powerful hands, turns me to face away from him. Ah, I understand now. The finger-twirling was a representational gesture. He meant for me to turn around. I feel a little foolish for not having understood. I'm relieved of my sash, and roughly frisked by his sinewy hands. I've always known that Terrans were something else, but this is the first time I've ever actually felt their strength. He controls my body as easily as I might handle a handful of powdered snow. Eventually, seeming satisfied that I conceal no weaponry, he pulls my lower arms behind my back and loops his thumb and index finger around my wrists, binding them with that hand while he fumbles for something. I feel a length of plastic being threaded around where his fingers were, and then clenched. Ah, a zip tie. A tone device that allows for quick, easy securement of a potentially resistant individual. I do not resist as he zip ties my upper arms behind me, on top of my lowers. My hands bound, the man rounds my front and looks at me, seeming to consider something. He reaches behind himself and rips a long strip off his heavy, white canvas cloak, as easy as if it were made of paper. He approaches me with a length of heavy cloth, and ties it over my eyes. My world becomes darkness as he deprives me of my vision. I feel a solid hand reach to cradle my underside, between my front and back legs. I'm hoisted into the air before being spun around disorientatingly. I hear the crunch, crunch, crunch of this Terran carrying me away through the snow, though I could not say in what direction. I turn my head down, and beseech my ancestors to bless my task. Thanks, perspective. Ow! Exclaims the woman angrily, as I disinfect her newly empty eye socket. I cock my brow, not that she can see that, and respond, Oh, my apologies, little girl. I thought I was treating decorated war hero and certified badass Commander Miyazaki. I didn't realize I was actually treating a small child. Pursing her lips, in a way that lets me know exactly what she thinks of my attempt at comic relief, she asks, Tell me, Doc, how many times have you had an eyeball burst from a flashboard Aquinas humor? 0 times, I answer wearily. She feigns thoughtfulness. Then, your qualification to dictate what an appropriate pain response is? Cupping her ear as if genuinely curious. I think about answering that a mostly finished medical doctorate and 6 years of field experience should count for something, but sensing how that would be received, I instead sigh, none. She taps her index finger against her chin as if considering. In that case, fucking ow! I flatten my ears and dip my snout, suitably chastened. After a few moments of silence as I dress her wound, I ask, out of curiosity, what species were they? She frowns. The one who slagged your helmet and melted your face. She laughs. Lovely bedside manner, Doc. I smile. Yes, well, if experience has taught me anything, is that you soldiers appreciate candor. So, what were they? She waves a hand dismissively. Never bothered learning the whole menagerie. One of the big ones. A kiklo? I inquire. No, she negates thoughtfully. A spellbook? Her face turns hard as she says, if there were rougher elites on planet, you think I'd let anyone be ignorant of it? No. It was one of those motherfuckers that looked like a prehistoric rhino walking upright. What was the horn like? Like a Brontotherium or more like an Elasmotherium? She says nothing, only giving me a hard stare, despite her lack of sighted eyes, that shouts, loud and clear, that she has no clue what the difference is, even though it was her who made the comparison to ancient rhinos. I sigh. Was it one of the purple shaggy boys with the two-pronged horns, or was it one of the hairless red ones with the long conial horn? One of the purple shaggy boys, she answers. That would be a Friendian. How badly did it hurt? She shrugs and answers, oh, you know, what I assume, bearing in mind this has only happened to me twice, is the normal amount for having molten durasteel held against your face and scalp by your helmet. I give a forlorn little whine, causing her to burst in laughter. It's disconcerting to see such a hearty laugh from one with so little face left. Don't make that noise. When you do, you remind me of Pochi, the Shibra I had as a child. I roll my eyes and shoot back. Yes, and when you laugh like that, you remind me of a capuchin I saw at a zoo once. Doesn't feel good to be compared to a semi-sapient cousin species, does it? She smirks back. But you're such a good boy, Fang. That doesn't even... Your ancestors never told mine that they were good boys. Yes, we did. And the ones we told eventually became domestic dogs, she shoots back. I frown. You are far too coherent for someone on the dose of painkillers I've given you. She shrugs. Yeah, I have noticed diminishing returns with every time you've given me them. That's not ideal. I would switch you to something else, but A, is probably best if you want absolutely bliss when Hrom gets here, and B, we don't have anything else, I say. Her mouth tightens as I remind her. I start. Emiko. But I'm cut off. No, she interrupts. Excuse me? I know what you're going to say, and if you're about to give me advice relating to my command, civilian, then it's not Emiko. It's Commander Miyazaki, she says. All cheer gone from her voice. An icy chill in its place. Apologies, Commander. As you've no doubt inferred, I was going to counsel you to attempt to negotiate some sort of safe passage back to Terran space. Or, failing that, a surrender conditional on our rights as POWs being guaranteed. We can't trust any guarantees given to us by people who think we're monsters. People who think we're an affront to nature for the crime of existing, she spits angrily. Once they have us in a position where we can't fight back, they'll just murder us. That might well be the case. But you know as well as I that we're not going to make it to the next supply drop, and surely a likely death is preferable to a guaranteed death. Sure you're not just getting soft, Lowell? She asks spitefully. Now it's my turn to get angry. Is that what you think? I say with cold fury. After everything you've seen me put up with, after everything you've seen me do, you think this is just about me not being able to hack it anymore? Wanting to get back to my creature comforts? Is it so unbelievable that I might have genuine concern about the dwindling supplies of everything, including personnel? Who's going to replace you, for instance? As far as I can see, no one else left alive is even remotely qualified for command. She seems to realize as she crossed the line as she says, I'm sorry, Doc. I didn't mean that. It's alright, Emiko. You're doing a remarkable job of putting a brave face on it, but I understand that the pain must be agonizing. I'm certain I'd say things I didn't mean if I was subjugated to 100th of the pain you must be experiencing right now. I say, my voice softened. I just can't do it. I can't. Why don't you just hear what they have to say, then make a decision, I suggest. She looks up, with her sightless, bandaged eyes, and nods. Okay. Hand me my katana,